Bonjour, good morning. We're here this morning, Elizabeth May, leader of the Green Party of Canada, and Deputy Leader Bruce Heyer, to present the Green Party's latest legislative initiative. J'avais l'honneur de présenter pour la première lecture de mon dernier projet de loi d'initiative parlementaire. C'est un projet de loi pour soutenir les petites entreprises. I have the great honor of presenting this morning a Think Small First Act. It's based loosely on a law that I first heard about actually from Green Party members of Parliament in the European Parliament, where there are a series of clear principles that apply that require a lens for small business at looking at all laws going through the European Parliament to make sure they're analyzed in advance to see if they're going to have a negative impact on small business. And that led me to craft this law. It's referred to, its full title is a law to create an impact. My actual title is Creation of Small Business Impact Assessment Act. It will require the Minister of Industry to consider certain aspects of the impact of legislation, policy, and regulations on small businesses across the Government of Canada. The goal here is to ensure that the real engine of economic growth in this country, small and medium-sized enterprises, are not adversely affected by laws put forward in other areas of policy. And to explain small business and the importance of small business and the importance of this act, I'm going to ask the Honourable Member for Thunder Bay Superior North, my friend Bruce Heyer, himself a small business person, to explain the benefits of the act.
Thank you, Elizabeth. In a former life, I was a regulator in the Connecticut State Department of Environmental Protection, and I used to both write and review environmental impact statements. And environmental impact statements rarely stop projects, although that's the misperception sometimes. But what they do is make them much better. They make projects more sustainable, more efficient, and usually help them in a business sense. This act will do several things in terms of assessments. It will assess the direct or indirect impacts of assessments on small business. And to be blunt about it, it will promote and protect small businesses across Canada. So it will identify legislation at the source that may have an impact on small business and have a plan to deal with it. Just a few facts about small business. A lot of people don't realize the importance of small business. There are almost 3 million self-employed people in Canada. From 2002 until 2012, small businesses created almost 80% of all the new jobs in Canada. About half of Canada's GDP is generated by small and medium-sized businesses. 98% of all Canadian corporations are small businesses. And 86% of Canadian exporters are small businesses, and they account each year for $68 billion in export. And these are the small businesses. We have two parties in Canada which are parties of big business. We have one party which is a party that doesn't understand business very well at all, of any size. And the Green Party of Canada is committed to being and improving our being the party of small business, fostering and protecting small businesses. I have several small businesses myself, but I'm also a former scientist in evolutionary biology. And in evolution, new species don't occur in a big gene pool. So we have big gene pools, and then we have little outlier gene pools. And that's where evolution happens. New species are created in outlier populations, and the ones that are successful experiments, they feed those genes into the main gene pool. Well, in the same way, small businesses become medium-sized businesses, some of them become big businesses, and important in a different way. But they're all experiments, and it's where the technologies are developed. It's where many of the new ideas come from. We subsidize heavily in Canada large multinational corporations. For example, the IMF just put out a report saying that we subsidize big fossil fuels and big oil to the tune of, wait for it, $34 billion a year. And very rarely do we have any incentives or inducements or sources of financing for small businesses. We've been putting all our eggs into big business baskets, and it's time for that to change. Elizabeth.
Oui, je veux souligner les points principaux aujourd'hui. C'est que les petites entreprises emploient 60% de la main-d'œuvre canadienne. Les petites et moyennes entreprises sont les vrais créateurs de l'emploi ici au Canada et c'est vraiment la fondation d'économie et la fondation de notre société et de communauté. When you look at small businesses across Canada and an investment in small business and supporting local small business, those dollars spent stay in the community. Those people employed are employed locally in community. And many small businesses are part of larger value chains. Bruce spoke of this in terms of his experience as an evolutionary biologist. If you look at an economy like an ecosystem, the more diverse it is, the more resilient it is. And no small business is an island unto itself. There are value chains in my own riding from small local organic farmers to local cheese producers to wineries to restaurants to tourism to the visitor experience at places on the Saanich Peninsula that draw tourists from around the world. No one business operates by itself. There are value chains, and when they are local and self-reinforcing, small businesses are enormously productive. There have been recent papers academically noting that you can't really analyze the productivity of the small business sector because we're simply not taking the right measurements. But we do know the statistics that Bruce shared. Small businesses are the largest employer in Canada. Bringing it home to my own riding in British Columbia, more than 1 million British Columbians are employed by small business. Small business, even the smallest of the small businesses, those under 50 employees, are responsible for 30% of our GDP. The oil sands, in contrast, are responsible for 2% of our GDP. So we have had government after government that has tried to cater to the needs of the very, very largest businesses. They are not unimportant. Large globalized companies are also part of this value chain. But we have undersold the importance of small business. We need to boost small business and to make sure that through legislation taken in other areas, we don't inadvertently hurt small business. So let me just tell you what regulations and legislation will have to be assessed going forward. If my bill becomes law, the Minister of Industry will have to consider how regulations and legislation will affect the following 4 key points. Small businesses' ability to seek financial assistance, the conditions for investment in and by small business, small businesses' ability to participate in the competitive marketplace, and the long-term viability and sustainability of small business. Years ago, before there was a Green Party, there was a small party, and the Green Party grew out of the small party. The small party took its name from the text by an economist of global reputation, E.F. Schumacher, whose book, Small is Beautiful, made many of the points that we've made also this morning. Small is beautiful, and small businesses that grow into bigger businesses are also beautiful. It's critical that in Canada, in this economy, we pay attention to the needs and the challenges of entrepreneurs from coast to coast to coast, and that we ensure as Greens that actions taken in other policy areas do not inadvertently further raise the hurdles that small business people face. Thank you. Thank you. Merci.